All right, let's jump into things. 10:32 on 23rd of October. Just checking the mic's working. Yep. And start off with DXY because this thing just keeps on powering on. And this is what I said about DXY. Like that, a couple of things is that firstly, once it gets going, it just keeps going. Secondly, it can look like it's about to fall over, and it can give a lot of sort of technicals, and then it can just jam up higher again. And it'll do this time and time again, um, to really sort of just snap everybody out. Like I know it sounds like a little bit of a tinfoil hat sort of thing, because as I've said before, like people be like when you're like, oh, this is what they do, and people sort of like to sort of chime in and go, oh, who is this they? Like you're some sort of like tinfoil hat conspiracy person, but there's other people on the other side of these trades, and they know what they're doing. And they're there to take your money. That's the job. That's the game. Like it's you against them. And there's a lot of people that have been calling, there's a lot of people that even from back here will be calling tops and tops and tops and tops. Because remember, we were in a very strong downtrend. This is why, I said yesterday, you need to use a combination of horizontal support resistance and also trend lines and that because, you know, look, there's 1,000 ways you can cut up the chart. It's all exactly the same chart. You can see that. It's just how you interpret it. But what I've found is that, a combination of two will give you different sort of angles on the same bit of data. And sometimes whatever's pushing or whatever's moving the market is going to respect one over the other. Sometimes it'll be a combination of two. And this is where we can get like confluences that work really well. And we can say that, look, you know what? There's a couple of things that says this should be a top, yada yada. But as we can see, each time we think it's almost here. Like I have to admit, even around here, I've been starting to sort of position myself a little bit more for this pullback. And as you can see, even here, it just keeps jamming through a little bit high, a little bit higher. We're past the 61% retracement now, which is, quite big. Look, honestly, I still think this whole zone through here, this green area that I've got marked out, I mean, we could call it a red one. Let's call it a red one, just so let's call it red. Bang, resistance. It's up into this area here. I think I've been saying this the last couple of sessions, and look, for parts of them I have been correct, but it has then pushed back on again and on again and on again. But look, I do think we are going to get that pullback soon. I am sort of positioning a little bit for it. We've had the whole sort of thing with metals happening as well, so there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. Um, which is great. I mean, that's how we make the money, sort of going through these charts every day. So, anyway, look, enough of that. Let's have a look at what's actually happening. DXY pumped on here again. Look, quite a deep sort of in terms of this actual sort of like move through here. Quite a big pullback here. This is retail sales. Like was it retail? I'm pretty sure it was retail sales. Fully undid that move. Unable to close down here to get that move down. And obviously, bang, we've sort of jammed on here through a little bit further. So now we sort of look in the immediate, this is your area you want to get underneath. And I'm not even sort of saying the body under this because as we've seen a couple of times, it's there to sort of like take out the lows, push back up, these kind of things. So I want to see this wick taken out. I want to actually sort of get a below, where are we going to put it? This one here. I'll put it there. That's what we're going to sort of call a bit of cooling here. We're up into the high time frame resistance. This little kick so far hasn't sort of powered on, big breakout and shot up to the next level. So but it's that time of the day where we haven't really got the volume in. So we'll see what happens here. But pretty much, where we go, above the zone here, below the zone here. That's our direction for the day, in my opinion. Either we're just going to keep on powering on, or we sort of see a little bit of a cooling off in that. Yeah, it's one of those things you call, oh, it's cooling off each day and that. It's sort of like, yeah, eventually it'll be right. But as I said, look, if we sort of start to link a couple of these highs together, starting to see this is to a little bit of a wedge. And this is what I was saying with this last little kick up here. Yes, it's the early hours of the morning, but this is a fast expansion move here. Back, shallow pullback, retest, and it's only just popped up a little bit here. So if this is to be a little bit of a wedge, well, obviously wedges are going to sort of see it come back down towards this level over here where we know that the buyers have been. You know, you've seen them buyers, 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 bang, whoop. This is where we'd be expecting price to sort of come back down to, and that's fine. We can trade with this. That's just a little, I mean, realistically, that's still very bullish US dollar, but it's a healthy enough sort of pullback, shake out some positions, you know, sort of see some things sort of like rebalance a little bit. And then, you know, it could sort of just move along. It's a bit also a bit tough because the last week and a bit, we've just been really flat with news. Like we've had little bits and pieces along the way, dribs and drabs, but nothing major. So I have a feeling, obviously, all that stuff's going to be coming in quick succession soon. But for now, all we can do is really sort of trade this chart here. So I'd say below 103, call it 103.80. Once this alert's off here, then I'm going to be targeting down to 103.40, 45, 46, call it 104.50. Sorry, 103.50. This kind of area through here, where we've seen the buyers previously. As to whether it stops here, as to whether it even gets here, well, you know, we've got to play that by ear. But as I said, this to me sort of seems like that it's getting into a little bit of a sort of pinch at the top here. We're coming into this high time frame resistance area. I think we could start to see a couple of people, particularly after you see. So if you look at all these sell-offs here, these are super shallow, super shallow, super shallow. Now we're starting to get deeper sort of pullbacks. Yeah, albeit on the over the whole move, it's still, you know, quite a shallow sort of pullback. But this undid that move and pushed up again. And this is what I say, like with DXY, if you look at this on a daily, this is what it'll do. It'll sort of look like it's failing, push back up, and then sort of take people out. So look, that also lines up with that little alert where we put in with yesterday's. Are we on today's? I can't even. 23rd. So yeah, on yesterday's daily lower wick. So if you take that out, you come down to sort of look to complete the body over here, and then maybe sort of find some sort of range around the top side over here. But for the time being, still very bullish, despite the sort of data that sort of has been sort of coming out. All right, and let's flip across, go across to gold because that's continuing to sort of power on through my price target. Look, my price target hit it, bang, beautifully, and market agreed. They sold down, turned around, said, nah, we're taking it higher. So, yeah, I mean, look, you're in no man's land up over here. I mean, you've got this technical larger sort of flag, which could take you up to over 2,800. So you know what I mean. There's certainly some potential upside with this stuff here. I have to admit I didn't touch metals yesterday for the long side, only just because, as I said, I hit the price target. Actually shorted a little bit from the price target. I flipped to the other side and caught that little move down. But I mean, again, what I say is like if you're trading against the main trend, you got to understand what you're doing in the sense that you're not looking to pick a top to hold to come back down over here. You're short, sharp, in and out. That's what you're doing if you're against the trend. If you're going with the trend, that's fine. You've got the luxury of it being on your side. So even if you time it a little bit wrong and it pulls back, well, you've got the main trend on your side, so it can just roll into profit if you're doing a swing. But if you're against the trend, you want to be short and sharp, and you've got to realize what you're trading and how you should be trading it because, yeah, obviously these aren't sort of things that you want to sort of be holding. So, as I said, this is the little sell down area that we got. And this is quite a good little trade. This is on the Monday that sort of came down through here. But as we saw yesterday, just grind it up, and it just keeps on sort of popping up to the top side here. So, yeah, we'll see how this sort of plays out through the session. Again, I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm cautious to buy it up here. And, you know what I mean? That I missed, what, 17 to 48, $30 move through yesterday just because I didn't want to touch it. So, you know, there is money to be made, but I just think you need to be a little bit more sort of cautious when you're up here because eventually, obviously, somebody's going to be buying the top and we're going to see a pullback and it's just not going to go to another top. So, I mean, like even these kind of things like this, yeah, I mean, it's plausible. I'm not saying it will do this, but it's plausible you come back down here, do this for a little like, you know, little head and shoulders up around the zone. Yeah, I mean, this could also, you know, just go like back down here and then bang on further. So I don't know. It's just there's arguments for both sides of it at the moment, I feel. And because there are such a sort of like potential strong arguments for both sides, I don't know. It's just a bit more of a risky trade. You know what I mean? Like when we were getting these nice sort of technical pullbacks and technical breakouts, that's fine because we can sort of go, look, this is the structure, and we're seeing the breakout. Now that it's sort of up and it's completed what I called that sort of price target, it's decided to chug on again. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to sort of sit this for the moment. If we do get back down to these lower levels, like if we get back down to 27.18, like I'd probably try and buy it down here, just for the fact that we could see that this was, that sort of support area. Give us a little bit of a better chance for getting this leg to come up through here. Because I think that sort of like, even if this leg fails and it comes to here, well, that's still a trade. It protects us. It gives us a little sort of support area where we can say we can call it wrong. Up here, if you're going to be buying it now, like it could pull back here, it could pull back here, it could pull back there's it could pull back down here and then sort of bounce, and you're still stuck up in this no man's land over here. So for me, it's a bit sort of cautious to be sort of buying it up here. I do believe we are going to see a little bit of a pullback, which is a little bit sort of excuse me, contradictory because, I mean, typically, as I've said a number of times, DXY and gold 90% of the time run inverse in that. They've both been running in sync. They're both running up at the moment. So does that mean they're both going to pull back together? Well, we've got to wait and sort of see, but I guess that's sort of plausible because I am sort of looking for a little bit of a cooling in DXY and I am looking for a little bit of a cooling in metals. So yeah, we'll see how this one goes. But the fact that I've got lines absolutely all over the place, directions of it all, I think in all my sort of scenarios, even if this one here to go higher, I believe we've got some pullback. This is potentially something we could be seeing as well. A little head and shoulders up over here. And this obviously became obsolete, this one here. But look, if you do get down to here, back down to this zone over here, 26.85, I'll buy it there as well. Because again, you're coming back down here, we've got retested the previous highs. That's an area where we could say, hey, look, this could be our buy zone to have another shot up to the top side here. This one's obsolete. This one's obsolete. So for me, I'm holding fire on gold here. Maybe it runs off to 2800 today. Who knows? I mean, if that is the case, I'm happy to sort of let that one go. I've done very well through gold, and that's just you just got to wait till the structure's a little bit clearer because at the moment it's just it's very bullish. But yeah, we'll have to see how we go. All right, silver. Silver actually, again, same sort of deal. Pull back. Actually, you can see the extension on silver was even stronger. It is pulling back a little bit now. Look, if we go under 64 here, where we are at 72, 71, we go under 64 here, probably look for sort of like, move to 38 to 27. I would say that that's potential because like, even if you look at this is on 4 hour just here, and this little move through here, I mean, it's the top part of the day because you haven't really got that volume in yet. But that's a little bit of a negative divergence on that last push. And this is another thing that's making me a little bit sort of cautious about buying anything up around this area. We got high time frame, super strong resistance just above us here. This breakout has been great, and sort of like I caught the shorts in these areas through here, same time as I showed a second ago with gold coming down. And then, I got in, I got out, I made okay returns. And then, obviously, bang, here it goes for a second wave. So people who tried to short these things, and this is why I say you need to understand what you're trading and, what type of trade you're going to be taking. Because I got in and I got out. I did okay. There's going to be people that are like, bang, I've shorted it, I've got the top, stops to even. And then, bang, they're blown out. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like the likelihood of you calling the very top is pretty low. And this is what I mean. Like people like this know that sort of like, go up here, people are going to be shorting this. I mean, big moves like this, retail love to fade them, but they'll generally fade them from like here, fade them from here, fade them from here. And so they're blown out from this time here. But say they had another shot Monday morning. Hey, I've got it. I've done well. Boom, it's coming down, stops just above the highs. Well, they know, just rip it up there and take out that liquidity. And then sort of see the move back down. But as this is just at the moment, we've got a little bit of a negative divergence on the 4 hour. If we take out that wick, this is a little hanging man on a 4 hour. Take out that wick, I would say you're probably looking at, I would say that, yeah, 34.38 to 34.27. Geez, these numbers are just crazy. To sort of think we're back at these levels over here, but if we update as I just did that fib just for this last move that led to the breakout, you can see that a 23% pullback or even a 38% pullback it comes in line with areas that we've seen pretty significant. I don't want not this one. Move this down a little bit because that's on the 38. 38, you got the wick lows over here, body fills and that over here at the 23. And remember, these are still bullish pullbacks. Like if you get a pullback down to 23, that's still bullish to potentially go up into these highs. If you get a pullback to 38, it's still bullish and potential to get back up into, that sort of, as I said, they're like sort of resistance levels from 2013. So, it's a long time since silver's been up here. And, it's a sort of like, if it does sort of pull back to here, these are the kind of areas I'd like to have a potential shot at buying it to sort of see if we can get that next leg. To me, it's just a little bit cautious to be buying it up around this zone here at the moment. So, have to sort of wait and sort of see how sort of things happen come 12 o'clock. So what are we at now? 10 to 11. So give it another hour. We'll see that volume come in. Look, what silver particularly reacts a lot with this around that 11 o'clock time and that it'll always do this quick sell down or like fake kind of thing. Eventually, like, for the last part through here, obviously you can see these moves here where they've sold down and then buy straight back up and then sold, and buy straight back up. Eventually, these moves aren't going to get bought up. Or what more likely it's going to do is it's going to come down, come up just a little bit, drag in the people because they're going to be going, oh, look at here we go. It's just another buy the dip situation. And that buy the dip will then sort of crash down through another level and another level and another level. And eventually it'll just sort of it just won't recover from it. Not saying that it won't recover at all, but in that particular volume period, it'll just sort of sell down and down and down. So that's again something that makes me a little bit cautious. I think you've got a better sort of risk reward up around these areas over here to potentially grab this move up here. Because remember, if the way these things will always work, you can see this through here. You'll go up, you'll find resistance. It'll come back, it'll find support. It'll have this move here. This is the move you want to capture because this move here will always come. And this is how you determine the strength of the move, because this will either become a lower high where you've got a bit of a top, it'll come up double top, and then you could potentially getting a range, or it'll power through and you go up to find the next level of resistance. And then this whole period starts again. It's moved up, it's found resistance, come back here, find support, and this is the third leg that you want to find. This is the one that'll sort of get you, determine the strength of that sort of move. So I think again, holding fire is the sort of best sort of course of action here. Aussie came off the lows, traded for this very well yesterday. I say there's three parts to the trade in that. There's the analysis, which obviously I'm doing here every morning. There's the execution. You need to put your money where your mouth is. And then there's the management of the trade and that's trying to maximize what you can out of these things. I bought down here. I did quite well with it all. I chucked on a nice little chunky position, rode it up here. I got out about here at 75. My TP is, as per the video yesterday, 66.90. So that's where I was like, yep, this is where, given everything but the charts, the fill of this body was the big sort of thing that I was looking for. That's where the TP was. Well, so PT, so price target was here. I put my TP at 86, just here. So what I tend to do with these things is that, like, if that's where I say the chart's going to go to, I'll sacrifice a couple of points to guarantee you that we hit that. Because there's no point things coming up, just kissing the line, and then because of the spread or whatever, it just doesn't sort of trigger the sale or close the position. So I sacrificed a couple of points just for a higher surety that if it does hit that level that it's supposed to hit, it's gone well clear of where my take profit is. So up to 86, but I jumped out at 75. So I still did okay with the trade. But again, that was the last little bit there, excuse me, that you wanted to really sort of maximize the low of the trade there. Sorry, excuse me. Um, and really, after that, look at a couple of attempts back up into the 90s. Look, we know 90s is always going to be a bit of an issue for Aussie. So getting above this level here is kind of crucial. We did sort of try to move it here. What's this, about 4 o'clock or so? But obviously smacked on the nose again. So really, it's just making itself a little breakout box here. So let's make this a little breakout box. I think a close above, into the 90s. You want to be, again, like I've said a couple of times really recently, you want to be able to see the candles do what the other candles couldn't. This one, for a second, was looking really good. It was looking good, and then bang, straight back down. So look, it's just holding this area here. I was thinking maybe this would be like some sort of little maybe shoulder, head, shoulder. I mean, if that's the case, your little neckline, whoop, this would be your neckline through here. And then your price target would be the size of this neck here. That would be your little move, which then obviously sort of more or less takes us back up into this higher time frame resistance area. So yeah, I think, look, if we can get a close above, into the 90s. So it's, what are we at, 81 now? So if we can get a little bit of a thrust up and a close up into the 90s, I think that gives the potential to sort of see a bit of a move up. As to sort of getting this full completion up to over here, I'd be cautious on that because I think sort of around this sort of 67.16, again, these big sell down periods like this, the body completion is a great target. Hence this little bit here yesterday, where we've got the large expansion body moving down. And as I said, I bought down here in the mid 50s, and that's why I put my price target back up here. And as you can see, that was a great target for where the move came back up to complete. So, in terms of sort of like, okay, you could say, yes, I'm not a big fan of this being an inverted head and shoulders. This shoulder's kind of just drifted on a little bit for me here. But I guess you could almost sort of say that it's almost, and this is what it's like, there's a bunch of different ways that you can mark these things up. It's all the same chart. It's just a matter of how you decide to sort of pull it apart. But how do I get onto this one? I mean, that is probably a little bit more what we'd be looking at now. Yeah, I'd be happier to sort of say this as the move. So let's scrap this, get rid of this one, and get rid of this one. As I said, look, that's what I was thinking last time. When we were at this point here, I'm like, look, little shoulder, and then if this break here had gone, I would have said, okay, yeah, inverted head and shoulders. Didn't really happen. Now, what I'm looking at potentially, if we can get that sort of close above the 90s, is flag, pole, consolidation, flag, pole from the base up to the top. And that comes close enough in line with the body completion of this sell down area over here. So that's my sort of little price target, Aussie topside over here through that move. I think that's a reasonable area because we can see that this has been a bit of a sort of congestion area, supports back over here, supports. So I would say sort of, yeah, that's sort of 67.15, which, as I drew out yesterday, of course, is top side of what I said this could potentially be a range. So again, if this were to be a range, this is where the price target would be. Undo this kind of bit here. First things first, get that close above the 90s. But I would say that that's potentially a move up to, sort of 67.15, and then maybe sort of see a little bit of a sell down after that as well. All right. All right. So moving along, we've got copper. Look, again, things are just kind of moving sideways with it. Like, obviously, sort of Aussie and copper have a very sort of similar kind of price structure at times. We could see yesterday it pushed up, found resistance in an area where we've marked it out a number of times, and sellers will come back in there again. So let's move this back just a little bit so we can work out what we're actually working with. Obviously, this is a higher time frame area that we're looking at, but for now, let's also move them back a bit. We can sort of see that. Let me get rid of this. Yeah, these are kind of pretty much defining the little areas that we want. And I was saying yesterday that, look, I was cautious about buying this, and look, it moved up. That's fine. It's found resistance. I still think that these areas, these levels, are going to play their part for a little bit. So again, a little bit of a pushback in that. Maybe sort of get back down to sort of 43. Maybe push back down into that sort of a high time frame buy zone. I do think that this falling resistance, once it does come through here, that could be the thing that sort of triggers us to sort of move up a little bit. But with these sort of falling resistances as well, when you see the breaks, you want to see an explosion of it. If this sort of comes, back here, up here, back here, whatever, once it gets to this point here, you want to see it go really bang. Like maybe not all the way up here, but you want to see a big move up. You don't want to see with these sort of things, well, if it sort of comes out here and then sort of does this, then it just sort of means, and this is why I say that you need to sort of be able to sort of trade with, diagonals as well as sort of horizontals. Because if you see this first move here where it sort of fires up like this, you know that this is what the market was kind of looking at. If it dribbles out to the side like this, you can go, yeah, well, look, it's broken this sort of falling resistance, but it's just dribbled out to the side. Well, it kind of negates the importance of this falling resistance. And you almost go, okay, well, let's just revert back onto the horizontals. So yeah, you need to be able to sort of have an understanding of both of them. I think sort of like, you're just missing a portion of the market if you're only focusing on one side of it all. So as to sort of where to from here, I mean, it's pretty clear cut that sort of like, we've got sellers back in control at this level here. So once we see depletion of sellers at this level, we look to move up. And I think the horizontals here are going to be playing the key. So you sort of think, how can we sort of use that? Make this a little zone because we can see that the sellers are up over here. So it means it's sort of like, if this falling resistance does get a little bit of a push out, and as I said, look, it doesn't have to be an explosion up to over here. But you want to see something as it hits it shoot up quite strongly, because for people that are trading this and you're trading it to the short side, they're going to be having their stops underneath that. Can come up here, retest the horizontal, because we know that the sellers are sitting here as well. So there's going to be a section of the market that tries to sell that. Use that as its back test area to come back down top side of this falling resistance and then support and then move up like this over here. So if we go back to this larger move over here, this is a great example of it. I'll put it on the higher time frame so you can see a bit better. This is the move. We came out and bang, shot up. Came back down, retested, top side of this big falling resistance. Found support around here, a couple of stuffing around and that, sort of a couple of sessions, and then bang, moved on from there. That's what you want to see. You want to see it sort of respect that sort of falling resistance to then sort of be moving up to the top side there. So again, it's not really something that's screaming at me to buy at this stage. Yeah, you could have some intra-session trades, but I think there's still a little bit of uncertainty as to where it's going to move to. I would say more likely we see a bit of a sort of a cooling, as I showed a second ago, across the board with a few metals, which could sort of give you another attempt down here at 372. So I'd be waiting for a sort of push down here. Look, the flip side of this is that it runs and it actually gets some breakout over here, but there's quite a big section of this little sort of pattern that hasn't been filled up. So I'd be more likely sort of thinking that this maybe sort of fill in this area a little bit, and then you get your break, something like this. So yeah, it's not a rush buy for me at the moment. Okay, and finally, just a little bit of China. Just doing what it does. It just grinds on. Look, same level above here, above 715. I think that's going to be pumping on there. If we do get above 715, I think you're going to see Aussie take a little bit of a hit. If we do see a little bit of a sort of cooling off and sort of rolling down over to this side here, this could be that sort of move that gets Aussie back up above 67. I don't think it's quite ready to sort of have any sort of like full push on Aussie. I'm talking about here. Though, if every time you flick on the news and that, and these people are talking about it, like they had this thing that I think, apart from like I think it was Slovakia or something like this, um, of the sort of developed countries, like Australia is the worst in terms of tackling their inflation. They're sort of the World Monetary Fund or whatever. I think they sort of said that largely it's been beaten. And if you look at a lot of the large economies around the world, I mean they're back into their target bands if they're not down to their actual targets. Remember, 2% is the target. The target band is 2 to 3%. We're at 3.4% in Australia, and you know what I mean. Like it's all these sort of people that have been going on. Oh, we're going to get the cuts. We're going to get the cuts. Well, I don't know if we are going to get the cuts this year. I've been saying this all along, and now they're sort of saying they pushed out to Feb, and now other people are pushing it out to May. Um, and they're saying that you may not be down into that target band until sort of late next year. That is going to keep Aussie a little bit elevated just for now. It doesn't mean that it sort of like is going to be powering on because you need a combination of that kind of hawkish mentality, hawkish approach by the RBA, but you also need US dollar to be selling off, of course. You know what I mean? We can have a hawkish outlook, and that means that, it'll retard the slow or the depreciation of the Aussie dollar because you've got the two conflicting outlooks. But it just sort of means as well that if US dollars being bought up, we still take a back seat. And it sort of just means we sort of hold it. It just means it doesn't get destroyed for now. So once we see a little bit of a cooling off with DXY, then you'll sort of start to see Aussie appreciate and sort of push back a little bit higher because they do have a more hawkish outlook. So people are going to sort of be thinking, giving it a little bit more sort of consideration as to a potential buy at these prices. So yeah, it's a combination of all that. Plus, if we see this one strengthen up a little bit, and sort of obviously push this chart down a little bit, that's obviously also going to see helping Aussie. But at the moment, again, this is just a bit of a grind up into this area. We can see that this is an area that's sort of stuffed around in a little bit on the way down, and we're just seeing similar sort of stuff over there. So not a great deal to take away from all the charts at the moment. Like I mean, we've had quite a great run, particularly with metals and that recently. So I mean, we're bound to have a little bit of a sort of cooling off period. But yeah, it's certainly a little bit of a tough one to sort of call too many. There's no sort of direct, clear cut trades at the moment, in my opinion. Okay, flip across quickly. I think we're pretty flat on the news again. Yep. So through here, absolutely nothing through Asia. Geez, nothing through Europe either, and not really much through the US. So maybe later. Yeah, look, we got BOC covered this the other day, sort of drop a 50 base point. I would say this would be priced in with it all, not really affecting much of what we're sort of trading, but it is going to be something that is affecting. Not is going to be affected, but I do believe there's generally a little bit of proxy runoff, so that could also weigh on USD a little bit there. We did have, what was it? We had that, yeah, manufacturing. Okay, so this is probably why US dollar stayed a little bit more bid overnight. As you can see, it's weak numbers, but the expectation was a small increase, but obviously came in a little bit stronger than that, and that's probably what's sort of given US dollar a little bit of a sort of pump up, or kept it a little bit more elevated overnight. Interesting. Yeah, apart from that, not really much going on news wise. So I guess that's it, pretty much just sort of trade levels. Okay, that's it from me.